And it is on percents.
Now we're on 5.6.
We already finished chapter 5. We're skipping the last section of chapter 5. You shouldn't have had any homework on it.
Yeah.
And there is on chapter 6.
Oh.
Alright, so percents, decimals, and fractions. So first of all, let's start by defining a percent. So a percent, by definition, means per 100. And that makes some sense if you think about it. The word percent, cent means, so how many cents are there in a dollar? 100 cents in a dollar, so percent really means per 100. So, that being said, let's say we have 53%. This is the same thing as 53 out of 100, or 53 cents out of 100, for example. Okay? And if you recall dividing by powers of 10, when I divide something by 100, which is a power of 10, what happens to the decimal place?
Oh, it moves to the right one time.
To the left. And dividing, it's getting smaller, so it moves to the left how many times?
2 times.
2 times. So the decimal point used to be here, I divided by 100, so it moved twice to the left. That's a terrible decimal point. So it looks like 0.53. So same thing, if I have 43%, that's 43 out of what? 100. So, and if I'm dividing by 100, what happens to the decimal point?
It moves to the left.
Yes, how many times? Twice. So it used to be at the end, and it moved to the left twice. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's talk about writing percents as decimals. So if you've noticed the pattern, every time we have a percent, like 43%, 53%, we're just moving the decimal point to the left 2 times. So say we wanted to write 49% as a decimal, I don't need to write that middle step where I'm dividing by 100. I can just write it as 0.49 because I'm always dividing it by 100. I'm always going to have to move it to the left twice. So what if I have 175%? What do you think my decimal is going to be?
1.75.
Yeah, good. So it used to be at the end, and I moved it to the left twice.
That's $1.75.
If I have 600%, what's that as a decimal?
6.
Just 6, right? Or 6.00. All I did was I moved the decimal point to the left twice. It's 6 or 6.00. Doesn't matter. What about 3.1% as the decimal? The decimal point used to be over here, and all I did was move it to the left twice. So it ended up there. .46% and 5%. So what is 0.46%? Yes. Right. And 5% finally? Only 1 0, right? 0.05. Good. Okay. So now we got converting from percents to decimals. Let's talk about writing decimals as fractions. Sorry, percents as fractions. So based on what we just learned, if we had, for example, 1.9%, what part is that? So 1.9%, we said percent meant out of 100. So 1.9 is 1.9 out of 100. Now, we've never really seen this before in which we have mixed decimal and a fraction. but we can get rid of the decimal easily. What do you know, what multiplication maybe do you know that lets you get rid of the decimal point on the 1.9? Yeah, multiply it by 10. And why am I doing it to both the top and the bottom?
Because whatever you do not.
Why is that true?
Because anything you do to the top, you gotta do to the top.
Yes, but why is that true? I can repeat the rule back to you, right? But unless you tell me why it's true, it won't make any sense. That's not it.
Is it a property?
No. What does 10 over 10 evaluate to?
Because you're multiplying it by 1.
Yes. 10 over 10 evaluates to be 1. Right? So if I'm multiplying something by 1, I'm not changing its value. So that's why whatever we do to the top, we have to do to the bottom. Otherwise, we're not multiplying by 1. All right. And this changes to 19 over 1,000. Good. So what we did was we had a percent, we converted it to a fraction. So say we have now, oh, there's another way to do this. So for example, 1.9%. I can write this 1.9 as a mixed number. How can I write 1.9 as a mixed number?
9 over 1? No.
9 over
Yes.
Go ahead.
10. Is 1 9 over 10?
The 1 is the whole number part,
Okay.
and the 9 is the fractional part.
And then 10.
Right. So the 1 was the whole number part, the 9 is the fractional part. And that fractional part is 9 over its place value. And its place value is the tenths place. So that's why that 9 went over 10. Okay? Well, this is the percent. If I want to write it as a fraction, then I need to multiply it. I need to put it over 100. So I can put it over 100 by dividing by 100 or putting it 1 over 100. Either way is fine. So I can't multiply a mixed number times a fraction unless I do what to the mixed number? Yeah. So if I do that, then I get 19 over 10% times 1 over 100. And this I can multiply because it gives me 19 times 1 is 19. And 10 times 100 is 1,000. So notice I got the same answer in both cases. Two different ways of looking at it. So in this case, in the first case, I worked directly with the decimal. And I just used the rules of multiplication by 10 to get rid of my decimal. In the second case, I converted it to a mixed number, and I used the rules of multiplying fractions and mixed numbers to go ahead and multiply it times 1 over 100. So let's try some. So I want to convert these to either fractions or whole numbers. So A is 50%, B is 2.3%.
Fraction of
The most reduced version. So what's 50% as a fraction?
1 over 2.
That's the reduced version, right? Before I get there, it's just 50 over 100. And then if I reduce this, it reduces to 1 over 2. What's 2.3 as a fraction? 2.3 over 100. And I can't have the decimal on the top, so how do I get rid of it? Times 10. Just 10?
Both sides.
10 over 10. Why do I have to do that?
Because of the 1.
Because it's 1, right? Good. So what does it evaluate to be? Good. Okay. 150% is just 150 over 100. What does that reduce to?
1.5.
So I can cancel out the zeros and it reduces to 15 over 10. And then I can reduce this even more. It reduces to 3/2, or I can also rewrite it as 1.5. Why don't you do this one? Tell me what this one is. 66 2/3. If you don't know how to do it, you can look at this example right here. Anybody do it? Go ahead.
66 2/3.
As a fraction?
Oh, as a fraction, it's 200 over 3.
Yeah, but that's still not converted. So you're giving me the decimal, the percent value. I want to convert that percent to a fraction. So let me get started with, we had to first convert it to improper. So you got that part done. You told me it was 200 over 3. So all I did was I converted it to improper. This is still a percent. I haven't done anything other than convert the number to improper. If I want to make it, if I want to get that percent out of there, I have to divide it by 100 or multiply it times 1 over 100. They're both the same thing. And now this becomes 200 over 300. This thing right here is what gets rid of the percentage, dividing it over 100. And that was true over here. We had 50%, we divided it by 100, that's what got rid of the percentage, because percentage meant over 100. So we're only doing the same thing, we're dividing it by 100. Okay? And then this reduces to 2/3 if you cancel out your zeros.
So how does a whole number turn into a
Percent?
proper fraction? Is my question, because you have 66 2/3. That would be an improper fraction.
That is an improper fraction.
You know what I mean? You turn it over, and then you're turning it back in over here to something where it's less than 1.
Okay, good point. Here we're talking about percents. And percents mean, so if I'm saying 100%, I mean one whole, right? If I'm saying something less than 100%, like 66 2/3, that's less than 100%. So that's less than one whole. So 2/3 is less than one whole. Good question. So and finally this one, this should be pretty easy. So 12% is 12 over 100. And what does that reduce to? You divide this one by 4, and you get 3. You divide 100 by 4, and you get what?
33.3333.
So you can't do it by 4 then. Let's try something else. So you remember prime factorization? So 12 can break up into 2 and 2 and 3. 100 can break up into 2 and 2 and 5. 5. This is one way to do it. And then just cancel out your 2's. You're left with 3 over 25. Essentially, all I did was divide both of them by 4. D, 66 2/3? Yeah. I do it in the back. We already did D, so let's do another one. Let's do 12 2/3%. Same idea, right? I want to make this into a fraction. So this is a percent. to get rid of the percent, we have to use the definition of percent, which means out of 100. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 12 and 2/3 and divide it by 100. Do you understand that multiplying times 1 over 100 is the same thing as dividing by 100? Did you say what? I'm multiplying by 1 over 100, but what I'm really doing is dividing by 100. But do you see why that's true? Okay. I just want to make sure you understand that before I go on. Okay. Now I'm at the point where I have to multiply a mixed number times a fraction. The rules for multiplying mixed numbers tell me I can't do this as it is right now. I need to convert this one to improper. Okay? So, to convert this one to improper, 12 times 3 is 36, plus 2 is 38. So that's 38 over 3, and the 1 over 100 is going to stay there. Now it's just a matter of multiplying and reducing. So it's going to be 38 times 1 over 3 times 100, and I can reduce this before I multiply. So I can find factors of 38. What are factors of 38? 2. So I know 38 is even, so it's divisible by 2.
3. No.
2 and what?
19.
Yeah. 2 times 9 is 18, carry the 1. 2 times 1 is 2, and 1 is 3. And then 3 and 100 can be broken up into 2 and 5 and 2 and 5. You with me up to here? Okay. And then I can cancel out the 2's. And my reduced version in this case is 19 over 3 times 5 times 2 times 5. So 3 times 5 is 15, times 10 is 150. So my final answer here is 19 over 150.
Could be wrong if I didn't do the math exactly check how to use up 38 over 3 times.
If you
Do I have
didn't
to put it over?
divide it by 100,
Yeah,
you do have to divide it by 100. That's what takes away the percent symbol.
no, what I'm asking is, you see how up there you have 38, yeah, right there?
Mm-hmm.
And you see how you change it to 38 times 1, like that. Do I have to do that?
What would you do instead? Reduce it across?
Yeah.
You can do that too. You'll get the same answer. Good question, so. Another way you can do these, if you don't like the mixed number, just convert it to decimal. 12 and 2/3 is the same thing as 12.6 repeating. Okay? And we should know how to do this because for our quiz today, we should know how to divide fractions and convert them into decimals. Okay? And this 12.6 repeating, to convert this to a whole number, I just move the decimal point to the right twice. And I get 1260. Hold on, that doesn't make any sense. Sorry, I divided by 100, so I moved the decimal point to the left twice. So I get 0.126 repeating. There you go. So no percent. And these two are equivalent.
You're gonna upload this, right, to the live stream?
So the only difference is here I worked with the mixed number and just fractions. Here I said, okay, if I want to bypass the mixed numbers altogether, I can convert this 12 and 2/3 to a decimal. That's 12.6. And then I can use this decimal percentage to just move the decimal point to the left twice, like we just learned in the last page that we went over. Okay, let's talk about writing decimals as percents. So, when we had a decimal percentage, like back over at the top, to get rid of the percentage, we divided by 100. So here we don't have a percentage now. So to get a percentage, we're going to multiply times 100. When I multiply times 100, what happens to my decimal point? So 0.27 as a percentage is 27%. So essentially I'm doing the opposite of what I did when I was converting from percentage to decimal, which makes sense. So if I want to convert 0.14 to a percent, how would I do that?
Just move it to the right.
So it's 14%. All I did was I moved it to the right twice because that's the same thing. It's multiplying times 100. What's 1.75 as a percent? 175%. Good. Zero and 57 thousandths as a percent. Yeah, 5.7%. Let me ask you a question. What if I wanted to write this 5.7%? Instead of 5.7, I wanted to make that a mixed number. How would I do that?
5, 7 over 9.
5 and 7 over 10, because that 7 is in the tens place. And finally, what about if I wanted to convert 0.5 to a percent? Do you just say it in Spanish? 50%. Right. That makes sense because that's a half. A half is 50%. So we've done pretty much all combinations except fraction 2%. So say we have an eighth, and that's a number, not a percent, and I want to make that a percent. Well, when I had a decimal and I wanted to make it a percent, I just multiplied it times 100%. So with the fraction, it's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to multiply it times 100%. So it's going to give me 100 over 8%. What does that reduce to? We can do it the long way. 100 breaks up into 10 times 10. 8 breaks up into 2, 2, and 2. And I can cancel out 2's, and I am left with 25 over 2%. Why what? Before? You mean here? Okay, good question. So that was when I was, let me go back one page. So back over here, we're converting from percents to fractions. So if I have a percent and I want to get rid of a percent, I have to use the definition, which is divided by 100. Well, now we're talking about the other way. Let's say we have a fraction and we want to go back to percent. So I'm going to do the opposite of dividing by 100, which is multiplying times 100. So that's why we multiply times 100 instead of dividing.
Is that your final answer, or are you going to take 2 and divide, or 25 and divide by 2 to get the number?
I can leave it like that, or I can make it a mixed number, or I can make it a decimal. They're all equivalent.
Okay.
So let's make it a mixed number. What's 25 over 2 as a mixed number?
Would be 2,500. 2 or
It's going to be 1, 200.
And 12.5%.
So to convert this to a mixed number, I do the long division. 2 goes into 2 one time, bring down the 5. 2 goes into 5 two times, remainder 1. My mixed number is 12 from up here, and 1 over 2. And I can also write this as a decimal, because 1 over 2 is 0.5, so it's 12.5%. All these are equivalent answers. Another way I could have done this, if you want to bypass the fraction altogether, you can just convert the fraction to a decimal. So 1/8 is a decimal. You can do it the long way, but it's going to give you 0.125. And then I can just use what I know about multiplication times 100 to move the decimal point to the right twice. And that's how I get 12.5%.
Not a lot easier.
It depends on the decimal, I guess. Okay, so let's look. Let's say we had a quarter. And let's do it both ways. Let's work with it as a fraction first. If I want to make it a percent, you're leaving it as a fraction, what do I do?
25%.
Yes, but if I want to work with it as a fraction, I don't want to change it to decimal yet.
Plus 100.
Yes, multiply it by 100. So this ends up being 100 over 4%, and 100 divided by 4 is 25%. Another way to do it is recognizing the fact that a quarter is the same thing as 0.25, and I just move it to the right twice. And I end up with 25%. So let's try some. Let's do, so that was example A. Let's convert 9 over 40 to a percent. And 5.5 to a percent.